All right, guys. So a tragedy is I filmed this video once and the audio totally jacked up. There was something wrong with my Scarlett system thing and bobber and the microphone. And the way this site works is once you lock in, you can't change things. So you're kind of seeing my predictions already. But we're going to go through this because Cod Champs starts today at 2:30 CDT. Craziness. But this bracket, the picks that I made are a little bit off of feelings, like what I want to happen, and also based on what I think could happen, like realistically could happen. Is it the highest probability? Maybe not. But starting with this winners round one down here, I'm thinking Thieves, they might drop a map. I think that's realistic. I could also see them 3-0ing. I think the Thieves are the favorite to win Cod Champs this year. I really do. I think they're the hottest team. FaZe is up there. Optic is middle. I think low-key Miami Heretics could be spoiler for any one of the top teams, though, which is what's fun about this year and why I kind of picked what I picked with my bracket. I have Heretics 3-1 Surge. I just think there's been such time off that to see a 3-0 in round one would be unlikely. A 3-0. I think 3-1 is the most moderate. 3-2 for some of these could be if one of these teams starts off really slow. Like Thieves, anything could happen. Thieves could pop off and go 3-0, but also Breach could pop off and make it 2-3. But I don't see Breach beating Thieves. That would be insane. That would be the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But maybe not the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. But yeah, so Surge, I just don't see him beating Heretics. I just don't. Go down here. Let's see. FaZe Optic. I think this is best case scenario for Optic is to face Thieves round one, 100%. I think FaZe time off. They can start slow sometimes. Optic, they can start well. Now, obviously, I think anybody who plays a lot plays better, like taking a break and then playing somebody like winners finals and stuff, that comes into play a lot, or grand final, it comes into play a lot. But ultimately, I really think Optic could beat FaZe in a 3-2 fashion because it's round one. If it would have been round two, I'm not sure. I think this is actually really good for Optic, but worst case for FaZe right now, for FaZe to face Optic round one, because I think they get sent to the loser's bracket. Toronto Ultra, for some reason, I just don't. They seem to always show up. I will say they do show up really, really well. It's just kind of the way that they are, I feel like. But Royal Ravens, I'm gonna pick an upset. I think this is the biggest upset for the first round. I think these two, I'm picking the favorites. I think Optic FaZe, I would give the lean to FaZe throughout the year, as well as I don't think Optic is favored to win against FaZe. But I think it's still probable. Like, if Optic beat FaZe, I don't think anybody would be like, oh, my word, upset. Versus if Ravens beat Toronto, I think it's a bigger deal. Not that the Ravens are that bad. But so now let's just go down to elimination one. Breach versus Surge. I'm taking Breach 3-1. FaZe versus Ultra. I think FaZe, if they come off of a loss like that round one, they just come out stomping. But there's like a 10% chance that they could lose to Ultra and then just be bounced. And that would be insane, in my opinion. So now let's go back up to winners round two. Los Angeles Thieves versus Heretics. I think that this series could go either way. Like I said, I think Heretics play spoiler for this tournament. I really do. I think that the Thieves are really good and they know how to close out maps. But I think they also rely too heavily on talent at times. And that can cost them if the Heretics are playing sound. But when it comes to the late game, hard point, 230 to 230, or search and destroy, 5-5, like round 11, for some reason, the Thieves always seem to close it out, and I've seen Miami not close it out. So that's why I could see this being a 3-1. But also, it could be a 3-1 Miami, and each map is like a 250 to 242, a 6-5, and then overtime control, or whatever it's called. You know what I mean? Where it's tied and goes to the last round. Like round 5 control, and then another 250, 230 hard point or something like that. I just see this being close either way. 3-1 doesn't always stipulate that it wasn't close. Like Miami could lose by a couple points here, but I really think that the Thieves kind of boom, boom. Because of that, I think it gives us the best case scenario for this to actually happen, but let's not jump ahead of ourselves. Optic versus Royal Ravens. I just don't think it's a good matchup. Like I said, I think Ravens can play a little bit of a spoiler. They're like, in my opinion, a poor man's Heretics. Not that they're similar playstyle, but that they could be a spoiler. And so, again, it's another one of those that I think it could be close, but also wouldn't be shocked if Optic just stomped them. Like, it's just weird to me. I don't know, because the problem is we don't know what Optic we're getting. That's one of the biggest problems with this whole thing, in my opinion. Don't know what Optic we're getting. We could be getting the best team in the game, Optic. I really do. I believe that. I think they have potential for that. But I also am not sure. And we're going to LAN, which means some of these teams are going to be questionable. That's my biggest thing with the Thieves. I'm not saying they're bad on LAN, but the skill gap closes a little bit with LAN, I think, for some of these teams. So, elimination round 2, we have Ravens versus Breach. I'm giving it to the Ravens, but ultimately, I think it's Breach. But either way, I think whoever comes out of this elimination round 2 would stomp either one of them. Like, even if I put FaZe here, it'd be 3-0. Even if I put Breach here, it'd be 3-0, no matter who they played, in my opinion. I think it's a higher percentage, though still a low percent, but a higher percentage that Miami drops a map to either Breach or Ravens. I'm going to take Ravens just because. But here, this is where I'm saying if FaZe lose round 1, I see them losing. I don't see them making the losers bracket run, especially if Miami ends up down here. I think Miami or Optic down here in this round 2, or no, sorry, that would have been Thieves. Like, this is worst case scenario for FaZe. Because, like, if FaZe wins this, I think they play Ravens or Ultra that could easily spoil. Then when they get to winners finals, they're going to play 2 of these top teams that could easily beat them. So it's just the way that it goes. I think there's potential in it being that way. I just do. But then we got Miami versus FaZe here. I really could see FaZe getting bounced. And I'm not going to lie, I'd kind of love to see it. Not that I wish bad on FaZe. They're not my favorite team. But I really want to see Miami succeed. They're kind of my second pick to Optic of who I want to win. But then, yeah, you get to Ravens versus Heretics. It's 3-0. It's 3-0 for me because, yeah, it just is. So then you get to winners finals, Optic versus Thieves. I think if Thieves win 3-1, 3-1, they lose 3-2 to Optic. But here's kind of my hot take and reasoning is if Thieves beat Optic here, I think it's a guarantee that the Thieves make it to the finals. If Thieves beat Optic, or sorry, no duh, Brock. I think it's a guarantee that they lose, or no, hold on, reset. I'm getting all tongue-tied. This is why I wish that other recording would have worked, because I explained it so much better. So if Thieves win this, I think they lose in the finals. I think if Thieves lose this winners finals and go down here, and they do come out and make the grand final, I could see them winning against Optic again. Like, losing twice in a row, I think, is near impossible for Thieves. I'm calling it now. I think this winners final is going to be kind of like a lucky break for Optic win. Like a round 5 or round 11, game 5, just double nade off spawn and they just win by that. You know what I mean? Something like that happens and they win 3-2. And I think the Thieves then either deflated or checked or whatever. Miami coming off a 3-0, just hype as crap. I think they, again, like I said, where was it? Back here, where it's like every map is close. I see them winning. That's the only way I see Thieves losing twice in a row. If they lose here and go here, I think technically they could win it. This is where it's a little bit more of what I want. I would love an Optic Miami final. I think that would be awesome. I really do. I think it'd be sick. The realistic side of Thieves losing twice in a row like this, I think is iffy. That's where my picks aren't necessarily the most like realistic or I'm biased. And then Optic Miami in the final. I think Optic comes out slow because they have to wait. And I think Miami goes up like 2-0, but then eventually loses the match 5-4. So game 9, that'd be sick. This would be like storybook for me. I would love this. Now, I don't think that these are the greatest picks ever. I think realistically, you could do more picks. If I was a robot, I'd be picking Thieves to win until the final, and then they could potentially lose in the final against Optic, FaZe, or Miami. That's what I think. Now, I want to run a scenario. I don't think this is going to happen, but let's just say Optic loses round 1. I think this is plausible based on the Optic we've seen, but now with this time off, new roster, how they've been playing, I think it's possible that they don't do this, right? I think it's potentially Optic comes out better than we've seen them all year. I think we could see peak Optic. I really do. I believe that. Not just because I'm biased. I genuinely think that. But let's say they lose. They go down here. We face Ultra. I could see that being a dogfight and a struggle. Win 3-2. Go here. Dude, facing Miami or Thieves that early, we get bounced. I could see us losing elimination round 1 or elimination round 2 if we come out flat. Like, this is the dangers of Cod Champs and why Cod Champs is so important and why it's so cool. But anyway, that's the picks. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm rocking with. A little bit of hot take mixed with a little bit of bias, mixed with a little bit of realism potential. But hopefully you guys will be watching. I'm going to be watching Scump's Watch Party all day long. That's just the facts. That's what I'm going to be doing. So we'll see what you guys are doing. Drop it in the comments down below who you think's going to win. Appreciate it. We'll catch y'all later. Peace. God bless.